Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke, and the question I get all the time from Disney fans is, hey Jonathan Clarke, do you want to go down in history for being remembered as the greatest of all time? You know, when I really think about it and put it into perspective, I don't know if it's been about going down in history for being one of the greatest of all time for me. It's just about being heard and seen on YouTube, because I love being on YouTube. And that's why I've been on YouTube for a very long time, a lot longer than many of you have perhaps been alive. I've had the honor of meeting so many incredible Disney fans over the years through showcasing my passion for whatever I was providing commentary on, but never before have I been received as well as I've been received for talking about Descendants and Zombies, and I have each and every one of you to thank for that, because Descendants and Zombies gave me a second chance to be seen and heard by a whole new global audience who love Descendants and Zombies so much, their favorite stars, their favorite moments, that they're forever and always talking about and sharing with each other, because they became friends because of Descendants and Zombies. And I for one believe that some of the most beautiful friendships of all time have happened because of Descendants and Zombies and became reality. And the thing is, Descendants has been around for over a decade, and the people who became friends over 10 years ago are still the best of friends. And that's what amazes me so much about these franchises. You know, people tend to forget about franchises like Hannah Montana and High School Musical because they were trends. And that's all they were ever intended to be, were trends. Sure, they may have captivated a global audience, something that started as a whisper becoming a global phenomenon, but it was for a short time. And because their time was very short-lived, they were franchises that just kind of faded off into obscurity. While High School Musical may hold the record for viewership of 17.8 million, and of course Descendants 2 becoming one of the most revered Disney movies of all time, I think that franchises were just meant to be trends, but I think that Descendants and Zombies were the first franchise of its kind to really captivate millions of people, a franchise that Disney fans were really waiting on to believe in, to give them something to believe in, to go on with their own lives no matter what they may be faced with in the way of circumstances or adversity. They were able to take adversity on head on and really counteract it because of all the challenges it presented them with. That was what was so cool about Descendants and Zombies, how it offered us so much encouragement to go on with our own lives, and how so many beautiful friendships were created and derived from Descendants and Zombies. We got that from the friendship of Kylie Cantrell and Malia Baker many years ago when they first showed up on the set of Descendants, and nobody knew what direction the Descendants franchise may have been headed in. But as time went on, I think we became more in love with people like Kylie Cantrell and Malia Baker because of not only the outstanding chemistry that we saw exemplified on the set of Descendants, but also off the set of Descendants. The way I choose to look at this friendship between Kylie Cantrell and Malia Baker, despite all the criticism it received, was that it outshined any amount of criticism it encountered because Malia Baker and Kylie Cantrell were there for each other every step of the way. For every moment of each other's lives, no matter what they may have been going through brutal breakups, through misunderstandings, when people really couldn't make sense of what Kylie Cantrell and Malia Baker were feeling at the time, they were there for each other, and they never quit on each other. And that's what blew my mind every single time and made me more thankful of this friendship than ever before, any friendship that I had ever seen in Disney's history. And I've seen every friendship come and go, the best of them come and go, throughout the doors of Disney. Friendships with Disney have been what I like to refer to as a revolving door. We see Miley Cyrus and Emily Osment. We hear people talking about Ashley Tisdale, Vanessa Hudgens all the time. Nick Jonas and Demi Lovato are some of the friendships that people have tended to forget about. But I think that this friendship has been talked about and profiled for so long because it's just so amazing how they've been there every step of the way for each other and how they've never quit on each other. And that's something that I give them a profound amount of credit for, the writers and producers, because they almost instantly noticed that this was going to be something special, that was going to touch our hearts in so many unbelievable ways. And if there's one thing that stands out to me about the Descendants franchise, is just how friendships can really last the test of time and really stand the test of time and remain throughout the annals of time, which will never ever be forgotten. And I say this because time is really the most precious commodity. We don't know how much time we have in this lifetime. It's all about how we spend the time that we are allocated and how we spend the time that we have creating memories with the people who mean so much to us. And I think that over the years that Descendants and Zombies has been a part of our lives, ever since coming into our lives, it has left us with so many unforgettable memories that we will never ever forget and forever and always cherish. And that's what means so much to me being the host of this show. I not only get to talk about Descendants and Zombies, but I get to share my experiences with each and every one of you through being a fan of Descendants and Zombies and talk about my favorite moments. Like the very first time Zed and Addison met each other. I thought it was a beautiful way to set up for the future of the Zombies franchise because nobody knew what the plot was going to entail. All we knew was it was revolving around a soda plantation and a chemical plant that was going to explode and turn everybody into zombies because of the Moonstone. And then came Werewolves by Zombies 2, Aliens by Zombies 3. Many people thought that vampires were going to happen before Aliens ever did, and Aliens were going to be saved up until Zombies 4, Rise of the Aliens or something. That's what we thought was going to happen, but vampires happened after Aliens, which was kind of really cool. There was a 5-year hiatus before Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires happens, making way for a beautiful story and new characters to be introduced into the franchise, setting up the passing of the torch. So many moments of significance, but it could have never happened if not for this beautiful story between Zed and Addison, which is why their contributions to this franchise will never ever be forgotten, and why Zombies will forever and always hold a special place in Meg Donnelly and Marla Manheim's hearts. I say this because I remember seeing Meg Donnelly being so enthusiastic about auditioning for roles like Supergirl in the live-action Superman movie. And that summer that I heard about how Meg Donnelly had been turned down for the role of Supergirl, I went to see Superman because, of course, I was the biggest Superman fan in the world. And when I tell you I went to see Superman, I really did go see Superman. I had my Superman t-shirt on, I had my leather jacket on, I thought I was the coolest guy in the world, the hottest guy ever, and I went to see Superman. And I came away from that movie very disappointed about how it was theatrically presented, because I always remembered Superman for being a superhero who was impenetrable, who was unstoppable, who wasn't afraid of anything. And for most of that movie, I saw Superman getting beat up. It didn't make a whole lot of sense, and then Supergirl shows up from out of nowhere 5 minutes away from the end of the movie, the ending credits. She shows up, and she's got this relationship with Crypto, the dog, and she's so disrespectful. And it got me to thinking about how there are more opportunities out there for Meg Donnelly to cry over. There are more opportunities for Meg Donnelly to be happy about and excited to perform as. Because she meant so much to the Zombies franchise, and she touched the hearts of so many people as the character Addison Wells. And then I see this disrespectful portrayal of Supergirl, and it got me to thinking about how much pride and how much passion and how much dedication Melissa Benoist exemplified as the character Supergirl in the original TV series produced by DC in 2015. I was such a huge fan of Melissa Benoist's portrayal of Supergirl and how she brought it to life. And this character done by Millie Alcott, that of course took the role over from Meg Donnelly, really left me disappointed, because I was going into this movie thinking that Supergirl was going to be strong, she was going to be fearless, she was going to be everything that Supergirl had been always and forever meant to portray, and then the only thing that was focused on was a relationship with, of course, Superman and Crypto, and she was so disrespectful, and I thought to myself, what a waste of time. Now, I probably wouldn't have thought that if Meg Donnelly would have portrayed Supergirl over Millie Alcott, but because the writers and producers chose Millie Alcott over her, Supergirl became off as such a disrespectful person, and I thought to myself, Meg Donnelly, you've got to be focusing on things that matter to you. Your fans, other roles that are out there waiting for you to seize. And I think that, you look at her on shows like American Housewife and The Winchesters and her relationship with Drake Rogers. All this happened because of everything that she had happened for her after Zombies. I think that Supergirl was just a downside of her career that she needs to forget about, and she needs to focus on what matters, because she's incredibly beautiful and she's incredibly talented. If I were to tell you I wasn't a fan of Meg Donnelly, I would be lying, because I instantly fell in love with that character, with just how fearless she was, how outspoken she was, how she didn't care what anybody thought of her, how she was keeping the secret of her family's history of being zombies and aliens, so kayfabe, trying to embrace her true identity, which is what made Zombies so special for a lot of people, because people were trying to find their place in the world while they were watching Zombies and while they were fans of it. I think many of us remember being fans of Zombies because we too were struggling with our identity. We were struggling with finding our place in the world, and that's how we saw ourselves through the eyes of characters like Zed and Addison, because we thought of our own lives and how it resembled our lives so significantly. And I think that more people have fallen in love with the Zombies franchise because they too are struggling with the same things: acceptance, their true identity, their true calling, probably a true love they want to have. I think that this story relates to more people than ever given credit for. And the interesting thing about Zombies was a movie that was supposed to have been a sci-fi horror musical. That's what was so cool about Zombies. You never thought that, true love could exist between a girl and a zombie, or so much conflict could ascend between zombies and werewolves and vampires and aliens, coexisting in Seabrook. But they were able to do it in a sci-fi horror musical, which was really cool, which was something that in that generation we never were thought possible for Disney. Years ago, I always remember franchises like High School Musical and Hannah Montana being about the music and having a good time and having fun, while inspiring people. Now, not only are they inspiring people, but they're doing it through horror musicals. They are doing it through the most unpredictable ways possible to bring franchises to life. Because I think never before Descendants happened, I don't think many people believed in happily ever existing, the chances of true love happening for everybody. But I think now more than ever, people believe in it more than they ever have, and that's why I hope they keep going with Descendants of Zombies, which is why I give you my word. I'm going to do everything in my power to ensure that the legacies of your favorite stars go down in history for being some of the greatest of all time, and Descendants of Zombies lasts for forever. Even if that means that I have to upload Descendants of Zombies videos for the rest of my life. Because when I tell you I've watched Descendants of Zombies for over 100 times, if not 1,000, I really have. And there are key moments in these franchises that I forever and always remembered. From when Red and her mother drove a side-by-side through a rabbit hole that had been closed for years. Or when Zed and Addison met each other for the first time in the zombie safe zone. And when Addison tried to embrace her identity as a werewolf and eventually an alien and embraced her true calling. That was what was so cool about Zombies, was that she eventually found her place in the world and she got to spend the rest of her life out with the Zed, which was so cool. Because I think that we've seen a lot of emphasis on relationships like Troy Bolton and Gabriela Montez from High School Musical. We've seen the friendships between Miley Stewart and, of course, Lily Truscott, Emily Osment's character. But off the set of Hannah Montana and High School Musical, I had my doubts if these friendships were actually legitimate, and they actually got along, because there's something called chemistry, and there's an undeniable amount of chemistry that we see in this generation that wasn't there from generations past. We had girls on Disney Channel, of course, attending public school, which of course had a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and they were having to live up to the expectations of the parents and the writers and producers. It was very difficult for Emily Osment. You know, I remember years ago hearing stories about how Emily Osment not only had to shoot episodes of Hannah Montana in the movie, but she also had to attend public school, and it got me to thinking about how much pressure was on her shoulders. I really felt for Emily Osment, and of that generation, because of the pressure that Emily Osment was under, she became my favorite character. And I can't forget to mention how beautiful and how stunning she actually was, because Emily Osment could captivate anybody. Any opportunity she had, she was captivating and taking the breath away of every critic out there. I fell in love with Emily because of her passion and how she was going through public school and dealing with the pressures of being an actress, and I had so much respect for her for that. And I think that because of people like Emily and Miley, this is why, you know, franchises like Descendants of Zombies are standing alone. Because I don't think anything will ever come close to what Descendants of Zombies has done. It's captivated millions of people. It's inspired people to, of course, learn how to draw their favorite Descendants characters, dress up as their favorite Descendants characters every year on Halloween, which I know we are just under 2 weeks away from. And I'm really excited about Halloween every year because girls show up at my door every year dressed up as inspired by their favorite Descendants characters. And I want to encourage that all the time, because there really is nothing wrong with being a fan of Descendants of Zombies. If you love Descendants of Zombies because of the script, if you love Descendants of Zombies because of the characters or the music, I think everybody has a reason for being a fan of Descendants of Zombies, and that's what's so cool about being a fan of Descendants of Zombies. It's not just one specific age demographic that it targets. It's not just one specific reason that everybody is a fan of Descendants of Zombies, and that's why it creates so much diversity. It presents a chance for you to really be imaginative about what's going to happen next in the story, especially with zombies, because you never know what's coming next. You know, while Descendants' plot was pretty obvious about what was going to happen for Mel and Ben, we obviously knew eventually it was going to get to a point where the barrier would be closed and they would spend the rest of their lives together. But with the zombies, you didn't know what supernatural characters were going to see their introduction into the franchise. Would it be zombies? Would it be aliens? Would it be vampires, werewolves? What was coming next for zombies, and what would happen next in the story for Zed and Addison? You know, the cool thing about Zed and Addison's relationship throughout that entire movie was there wasn't much conflict, and they didn't spend much time apart. You know, we've seen so many franchises where, you know, the friendships, you know, kind of break up, kind of fade off into obscurity before they eventually get back together because they're challenged. But we never saw much of a challenge until Zombies 4 for Zed and Addison's characters. And even then, in Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires, they stayed together throughout the entire production. Because all they ever wanted, depending on what sacrifices they had to make, regardless of what they were, all they ever wanted was to spend the rest of their lives together. And that was what was so cool about Zed and Addison's relationship. And it really set things in motion for Victor and Nova's relationship to kind of just come off the ground from out of nowhere after seeing each other in a reoccurring dream. And I've said many times on this show that it's a beautiful way to set up for the future of the franchise by seeing each other in a reoccurring dream. I think everybody gets to a point or they see somebody in their dream they wish they could meet in real life and spend the rest of their lives together with. I think Zombies 4: Dawn of the Vampires had a beautiful conclusion. It was 7 years in the making, and it was 7 years well worth the wait. And I think that for people who criticize Descendants of Zombies, they don't know the first thing about Descendants of Zombies, and I doubt they've even watched Descendants of Zombies. I created this YouTube channel because I knew people weren't uploading Descendants of Zombies videos very frequently. And I know there are people who watch these videos. There's a 7-year-old girl watching this video on her tablet this morning, probably on her way to school, who just wants to be offered encouragement about the future of Descendants of Zombies. And I have this to say to each and every single person who believes that this is far from the end and this story is far from over. If you believe this story is far from over, then keep on believing it. Keep on listening to your favorite Descendants songs. Keep on believing in your favorite moments that have held a special place in your heart, because that's what I'm here to encourage each and every one of you to do. You know, when you head off to class this morning, to know that there's going to be a new chapter of Zombies. We just don't know when the release date of this is going to be, because of course a budget has to be allocated for it, and it won't happen until the budget drops and of course the script is developed. We know some kind of a direction. We know it's going to have something to do with the two groups kind of clashing, the vampires and the daywalkers, over this relationship between Victor and Nova, with now Zed and Addison taking a back seat, and suggestions of a title change of course happening for the franchise now that Zed and Addison are no longer your leads. But I think that the cool thing about Zombies is regardless of when it happens, by the time it does happen, people will be teenagers, they'll be more appreciative of Zombies, they'll remember all the memories they shared with their friends being fans of Zombies, and that's what's so cool. Zombies has never really targeted just one specific age demographic, neither has Descendants. So because of this, more people are falling in love with Descendants of Zombies than ever before, and I couldn't be more excited to be your host of the show and to be talking about Descendants of Zombies and profiling it the way that it's forever and always meant to be talked about, because thousands of people are hearing my voice every single time that I upload a video, and that's more than what I can say from about 15 years ago, and I was just talking about video games and TV shows and movies that weren't really making a whole lot of sense to a whole lot of people. If anything, Descendants of Zombies gave me a second chance to be seen by a whole new global audience and to be heard all over again. And to have the opportunity to tell you guys my story about being a fan of Disney and all things Disney related, such as Descendants of Zombies, has been the greatest honor of my life. Jonathan Clarke Video Blogs has never been seen or heard by so many wonderful people as it is now. I have a global reach, and I have each and every one of you to thank for that, because your love for this franchise and your love for this channel is truly unconditional, which is something I can never give you enough credit for, because the respect that I have for each and every one of you is truly mind-blowing, because the respect for me from all of you is really mutual, and it shows every day. And because the respect for each of us are mutual, I think the greatest honor of my life was being given the chance to upload so many wonderful videos for so many people who have fallen in love with this franchise, who draw inspiration from this franchise every single time we see a new chapter or a new music video, like Don't Mess With Us and Place to Be, or Red, or Fight of Our Lives. I remember the collaboration of all the music videos from both franchises, and they had the time of their lives. It looked like so much fun collaborating these music videos, and I give them all the respect in the world, and I love showing them the respect in the world because they deserve it. I think these casts are overflowing with talent and energy. Their energy is second to none, and I think if there ever was a reason to become a fan of these franchises, the time is now. I love the festive times of year when Halloween and Christmas happen, because of course there are festive things happening in Disney World all the time. The pumpkins are out on the main street, the characters are dressed up in Halloween costumes, and Descendants of Zombies provides us with an opportunity to showcase their talent more than ever before, especially around Christmas time when they have these holiday specials on Disney Channel and Disney Plus. The characters from Descendants of Zombies have never been more obliging, and they've been never more connective with their fans on social media. I really appreciate how Quality Control is always posting something every morning at 6 a.m. and your favorite Descendants of Zombie stars are promoting this franchise the way I believe it's always forever been meant to be advertised. Because I think, you know, the original cast of Descendants of Zombies may have been there to promote it in the way of PR, but I think never before has enough PR been done for Descendants of Zombies like we're seeing now. I mean, the cast is very appreciative of bringing it to life. The franchises obviously mean more to this new cast than the original cast, because I think the original cast were just setting things in motion for the foreseeable future, because Meg Donnelly herself has said, you know, they're just trying to secure the future of this franchise, and it's something that I really appreciate, because securing the future will give us the opportunity to see more chapters, new characters enter the franchise, and twists and turns of unpredictability things happening in the franchise that I think we've been meaning to get to for a very long time. And I really would love to see more opportunities for Zombies 2 in the way of an expansion of the animated series, probably a book series like Descendants. I think there's actually a new book in development currently right now for Descendants, although I don't have confirmation on that, but I've been hearing rumors about a new chapter in the novel series for Descendants, kind of like Twilight years ago. So it's really cool that we have something to look forward to each and every single time we talk about Descendants and Zombies on this channel, which gives me even more reason to be more incredibly excited to talk about Descendants and Zombies with each and every single person whoever was a fan of the franchise. So if you have not subscribed to this YouTube channel, you're probably going to want to do that. With 2,854 subscribers having happened for this YouTube channel and just under 75,000 channel views. Guys, seriously, thank you so much. I love you guys so much, man, for making this YouTube channel a global phenomenon and such a huge success in the hearts of millions of fans of Descendants and Zombies. All I've ever wanted to do was to honor each and every one of you for being fans of the franchises that I grew up with, that I loved. I watched Descendants and Zombies a long time ago, and I knew it was going to be something special. I never thought this podcast would explode in popularity the way it always and forever has, but it happened because of each and every one of you, never because I decided to upload videos about Descendants and Zombies at random. Guys, seriously, thank you so much. I have one final podcast to upload today. That will happen just after sunset tonight, and I cordially invite you to join me for that. So if you have not subscribed and you're wanting to know what's happening next for Descendants and Zombies, what's coming next, you're going to want to subscribe to this YouTube channel because I have a lot to say where Descendants and Zombies goes. All that remains to be said by me this morning is to stay calm and zombie on into the foreseeable future, because you never know what's coming next. Keep holding on to the belief that Descendants and Zombies will last forever, because it really will, if you really truly believe that Descendants and Zombies will forever and always go on for forever, because if you believe it, then it's what's real. And I think we should really be shutting down the critics about how they feel about Descendants and Zombies, because what they think is just to get reactions out of each and every one of us. But if we hold on to the belief that Descendants and Zombies actually has a chance to be shown for lasting for forever, then that's the belief we should forever and always hold on to. Guys, seriously, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your life as your voice of Descendants and Zombies. It truly means the world to me. You guys will never know how much. Guys, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit my subscribe button, hit my like button, and ring my bell to stay up to date with notifications on everything happening on this YouTube channel. We will talk more about Descendants and Zombies later on tonight. If you have not subscribed, be sure to do that. Stay calm and zombie on, everybody, into the foreseeable future.